Good afternoon. Happy Tuesday for everyone. Welcome to our next model on our women export program with UPS. We are so excited for today's topic, and I say it from maybe from a trade nerd perspective, because I love customs. I know it's a tough topic to love, but it's such an important topic for all women entrepreneurs and all businesses that are exporting and are dealing with international trade. And today we're going to talk about trade and tariffs and how do we navigate this and how do you export to the EU and after the word Brexit. All of these are amazing topics, very important. And today I am excited and honored to welcome three amazing women that are going to join us in this journey. And I'm going to invite them to unmute themselves so they can say good morning. But I'm going to read you about them first. First, I'm going to talk about our first speaker is going to be Sylvia Hutchinson-Smith, who is with UK Brokerage Operations Manager with UPS. Sylvia, it's such a pleasure to meet another customs nerd. Sylvia has over 29 years of service, and she looks awesome because she started when she was 5, like me. We don't age, we accumulate youth and wisdom. 20 years of those 29 years, you were working on imports and exports in the imports and exports department. And I think right now you are responsible for all UK imports and exports that have to go through customs. You have to look at compliance, you have to do quality control. So much information, Sylvia. Thank you for being here with us, and we're looking forward to learning from you. And then I'm joined by two amazing women from Prince William, PwC. Oh my gosh, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Yes, did I remember the name correctly? And it is first is Claire de la Pellier, VAT director at PwC. And Claire, I hope I pronounced correctly your last name.
Yeah, you did very well. Yeah.
In my old life, I used to speak French, but don't ask me now because I haven't practiced it. So it's French with an English and a Spanish accent, which is not good. So Claire is in the value-added tax planning opportunities available for multinationals. You deep dive with your customers on these topics. And also you all started very young for all the years of experience that you have. Yes.
Yeah, I was about 4.
About 4 years. But the amazing experience that you have also, Claire, you help to structure projects, right? And look at when you're thinking about exporting, keep in mind, how do taxes work, right? And how do we analyze and plan that? So Claire, thank you so much for being here and joining us on that part. And you're being joined by your colleague, Pauline Leveren. Pauline, I did
correct. Hello, everyone.
Who is a ITX manager at PricewaterhouseCoopers House, specialized in that and European and international level. And during your career, you also have to support multinationals, national clients, and you have to look at different sectors, right? Because sometimes we don't appreciate how much taxes changes depending on the commodity, depending on the trade agreements or not, or how does it work, right? So thank you so much for your experience and bringing here. So ladies, I hope you have had coffee. To all our women entrepreneurs and our participants, I hope that you're able, even if you're seeing us live or in the recording, that you're able to, that's my watch talking back to me, that you're able to learn these topics and some administrative stuff. You can put your questions in the Q&A box where you can have the information, or in the chat also you can leave some comments. So to start, I'm gonna turn it over to Sylvia. Sylvia, take us through the wonderful information you're going to share today about brokerage. How does brokerage work, right? And what do people have to think when they are exporting?
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, works perfect.
Lovely. So I'm going to talk you through trade and tariffs and a UPS brokerage overview. And as I say, I'm Sylvia Hutchinson-Smith, UPS brokerage manager. So the agenda will be what is brokerage, the role of customs, and shipping UK to EU. So brokerage brokerage in UPS terms is an essential UPS business function that allows us to operate an international service by clearing all shipments worldwide and EU through UK customs, applying all necessary customs laws to shipments, assessing customs duty and tax payments, that's on import, providing billing and clearance status information to the business, whilst managing all of UPS business with HM revenue and customs. So reasons to ship, the most popular one obviously would be sale. So that's a permanent import or export. We also do repairs. So that IPR is when something's coming in for inward process and relief. So it's being brought in for repair. OPR is when it's going out for repair. So those are, they need presented to customs slightly different. Temporary imports would cover loans and exhibitions, etc., or perhaps goods that are coming back after being lent out. Temporary exports is the same, only in reverse. And returns is an important as well. So is rejections, undeliverables. So you've sent some goods out and somebody wants to return it for whatever reason, and we would send back as a British return. So how does brokerage fit into this? We look at the type of goods, the reason that they're entering or leaving the UK, decide how to clear them through customs, and then we make up the entry build-up, if you like, for customs. So we would attach the customs documentation, which is important, obviously, for your audit purposes. With regards to invoices, good invoices contain the following: a clear description of the goods and tariff code, the value and currency, the shipping terms, that's vital because that determines who pays for what, the reasons for shipping, as we touched on earlier, many different scenarios, VAT or EORI number, and the IOSS number for the importer. Export entry controlled goods. What are controlled goods? These are shipments that are requiring a full declaration prior to export. They would need a full declaration, sometimes due to the nature of the goods. So we might get something that's covered by a license, for instance, or the reason for export. As we touched on earlier, it might be going out for repair or coming back after repair. So customs would need a bit more information. And most important is the value. What value are you declaring for customs? Why is it important that I pick the correct code? Obviously, each tariff code has a set rate of duty. Some tariffs are duty-free, depending on which country you're shipping to. It also might need a possible license because of certain restrictions that we would need to look at. By choosing the wrong code, it will provide customs with false information and lead to the importer paying too little or too much tax. Shipping UK to EU. Essential tips to help you make exporting from the UK a winning strategy. EORI. So make sure that your business has an EORI number that starts with EU. Decide who will make the import declarations. That's your importer of record. Duty and tax. Check the rate of tax and duty for your goods. Obviously, this might influence your sale price. Documentation. Check what you need to do for the type of goods that you export. Just touching back earlier, does it need a license, for instance? So certain leathers might need a CITES license to export. Carrier, decide who will transport your goods to the EU. And VAT, find out how those changes on the VAT affect you. What is an EORI number and why is it needed? It's a unique identification assigned to each importer and exporter to monitor the movement of goods between EU and UK and other countries. Why do I need an EORI? To apply for customs simplifications and easier customs processes. Do I need an EORI number for every EU country? No, a company will only have one EORI number per legal entity, and this EORI number will be used for customs in every EU country. How do I request an EORI number? An EORI number can be requested from local customs website. In the EU, the EORI number is usually requested from the EU country that the company's goods will first arrive in, or the EU country that the company wants to export out of. And what if I don't have one? Your goods will not be cleared through customs, but will be held until you supply the complete paperwork, which could mean significant delays and additional charges. If you don't already have an EORI number, it's a very, very simple link through the customs website. It takes about 10 minutes, it's free of charge, and then that number is yours to supply on your documentation. Customs declarant, the importer of record, is an entity or individual responsible for all entry documents required by the EU customs authorities. What are the liabilities of the customs declarant? It's for payment of duties, misclassified commodities, undervalued goods, fines and penalties, and any other import obligations. So the importer of record has incredible responsibility. Who is the importer of record for a non-EU importer? If a company is importing to the EU, but is not established in the EU, a third party will need to act as the importer of record. This third party could be a third party service or the non-EU company that could arrange for the EU client, the EU party receiving the goods, to act as the importer of record. Customs duties and taxes impacting your business. Consider the rate of taxes and duties. As I said earlier, this could influence your sale price. You need to prepare for the possible application of EU customs duties and anticipate the impact on your sale price. Consider EU and UK customs formalities, as certain items may also need a special licence or other specific requirements. The EU to UK agreement provides for zero tariffs and zero quotas on all goods that comply with the appropriate rules of origin. In order to benefit from the EU to UK trade agreement, zero tariff, it is essential to provide evidence of the country of origin in the customs documentation for your shipments. The exact import duty and tax treatment may vary depending on the country or items involved. And additional excise duties for alcohol, perfume, and or other specific products may also apply. Paperwork. What is a commercial invoice and why is it important? You could avoid delays with your paperwork by correctly being prepared. A commercial invoice is the primary documentation used for import control. That's both on export and import. Valuation and duty determination when shipping across customs borders. It is required for all cross-border shipments except documents of no commercial value, even if there is no sale. Recognised worldwide, it contains important information about your shipment, including the sender and the destination. So the ship to, sold to, sometimes that can be different, that's fine. So somebody's purchasing it but shipping it to somebody else, that's acceptable. The content, what is it? What is it made from and what will it be used for? The quantity and the weight of goods, the value of the goods being traded, the Incoterm, the harmonised tariff, that's the HS code, that apply to all these goods. So check the commercial invoice against the customs declaration to ensure that it's correct. Failing to do so might result in delays, fines and penalties. Commercial invoices, so I'm going to show you some examples of acceptable descriptions. Plain language descriptions that are precise enough for customs services to be able to identify the goods are ideal. Below is a list of poor descriptions of goods along with improved examples. So on an invoice, for instance, you might put phone. What we actually need is a bit more detail. We're going to change that to Apple iPhone 12 Pro with a 256 gigabyte in gold. So if you think about a phone, it could either be a mobile phone, it could be a landline phone, it could be a phone that's attached to a reception, for instance, and all those have different tariffs. Clothes, this is a real big tariff. So as much detail on there as possible. Men's Prima cotton crew neck t-shirt. So we've got that it's a t-shirt, we've got it that it's made of cotton, and it's men's. Believe it or not, men's have a different tariff. Auto detailing, so that again, that's quite vague. It's actually shine armor car wax. So a bit more information. Car wax, we would pick that up and classify that. Equipment, so probably somebody's put kitchen equipment, and it's actually a pasta roller. If you think about what you could actually have in a kitchen, it's very, very varied and a big tariff. And again, it influences your duty rates. Gifts, you cannot just put gifts because that could be absolutely anything. In this case, it's remote control cars. Sanitary goods, again, the same. Some sanitary goods are duty free, so be careful with that one. Towels, buckets, detergents, toothbrushes. Towels actually comes under the fabrics tariff, so that will be a different rate of duty. Appliances, again, back to the kitchen, very, very varied tariff. In this case, it's the refrigerator. So please refer to the EU guidance on acceptable and unacceptable terms for the description of the goods. So an example of wrong goods description. High weight, low value will always attract attention. At the end of the day, a broker is the mediator between the shipper and customs. So we need to check to make sure that information is correct. Are we really shipping 246 computers valued at £1? That would be pulled probably for an audit. So that should give a bit more detail as well. That should also tell us MacBook Pro, so we can categorise it correctly. An example of wrong description of goods with a value less than £1, an electronic golf trolley. We've got everything else correct. We've got the harmonised tariff, we've got the country of origin, but would we really ship a golf trolley and tell customers that it's £1? Acceptable value would be more like $2,500. Value added tax, the VAT number, it is required to import goods into the EU. Do I need a VAT number for every EU country? Yes. VAT numbers are country specific. So if a company is importing or exporting to multiple EU countries, they will need a VAT number for each country. How do I request a VAT number? VAT numbers can be requested from the local government of EU member states. When do I pay VAT? VAT will need to be paid upon import into the EU unless the importer has a deferment licence in the EU. So refer to the European Commission's on VAT identification numbers page for more information on who needs a VAT number. What has changed on July the 1st, 2021? The basic things that you need to know when sending goods to the EU and the major changes that are effective from the 1st of July 2021. The new rules. The removal of the €22 de minimis. So impacted transactions are business to business, business to consumer. Type of change, the amendment of the existing policy, and the obligation is the mandatory implementation. Also, the launch of the new Import One-Stop Shop, the IOSS platform. That's B2C. So shipments of an intrinsic value up to €150. That's completely new, and it's an optional registration. Marketplaces as deemed supplier, also B2C, with shipments of an intrinsic value of up to €150. again completely new, but this is a mandatory VAT collection at point of sale. What does it mean for your business? If and how the new EU VAT reform impacts your business depends on the value of the goods you sell, whether you sell to business or consumers, whether you use online marketplaces. Goods valued up to €22 will no longer be VAT exempt when imported into the EU. This impacts all businesses importing into the EU. These low-value goods will require formal customs clearance, so consider the impact on the price and margin of these products. Thank you. That's all from me.
Sylvia, thank you so much. I was listening to you, and it is to the participants that are listening to this, important to remember you will get the presentation, but also to keep in mind as you look at all the acronyms and all the different information that Sylvia shared, it's important to know for you to be aware of these terms, so that when you're talking and whoever you work with, let it be with us or with someone else, you know what they're talking about, right? And have a sense of what are the questions that you need to ask. And Sylvia, would you say, so this is a yes or no question, because I always, in my experience now, we have trained over 17,000 small businesses and women entrepreneurs around the globe in the last 4 years. But the one advice I always give them is know your product, so you know best what you will need to do your homework. Is that?
Absolutely. So for many years, you know, as you said earlier, I've worked with customs, and people who don't research customs don't take the stance that, well, if you say, I'm sorry, I didn't know, it is your job to know.
Yes, exactly.
So fully research everything that you do.
Yeah, and your due diligence. In my other life, I also work with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So there was this thing that we used to tell, yes, importers and brokers, you have to do reasonable care. So Sylvia, thank you so much. Please don't go far, because we do have some questions, but we're going to answer them after Claire and Pauline's presentation. So I'm going to ask Claire and Pauline to join me. And very, very interesting topics, right? That we heard from Sylvia, the nuts and bolts of exporting and importing. Claire and Pauline, I'll turn it over to you and take us through that amazing journey that is exporting to the EU after Brexit. Take care.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome from our side as well. So we will try to guide you to the new EU VAT rules in respect of importing goods into the EU after Brexit. So where to start? Well, of course, you need to know your options, and things have changed since the 1st of July 2021, so almost 1 year ago now. What we will be discussing this afternoon, and this is very important, is sales made in a so-called business to consumer relationship. So the so-called B2C supplies. If you have any questions regarding B2B supplies, so whereby you would ship goods from the UK to Europe, but your client would not be a private individual, but a company, I'm more than happy, and I think Pauline as well, we're more than happy to take those after the session. So once again, all the rules we will be sharing with you now are the rules covering sales in a B2C relationship, whereby goods are sold and transported from the UK to the European Union. The first question you should ask yourself always is, who is going to declare the goods for importation into the European Union? Because you have two options there. Either you can ask your customer to do it, either you can do it yourself. So this is the most important question. It's the first question. You have two options. Either you do it yourself or you ask your customer to do it. What happens if your customer is in charge of the importation of the goods into the European Union? Well, if your customer is willing to do the importation of the goods into the European Union, then there is no VAT obligation whatsoever for you within the European Union. So all obligations of the importation lay then with your consumer. What are the normal rules? The normal rules in this respect is that your customer will be liable to pay import VAT in the member state where he has his residence. So if you send goods from the UK to France, your customer will need to pay import VAT in France. But Pauline has drafted some wonderful, beautiful slides with some examples on it, and she will guide you through those examples. There is, however, also a special scheme whereby the collection of the import VAT will be done by the person who will be presenting the goods to the customer, to the customs authorities. But once again, also in this respect, there are no EU VAT obligations in the hands of you as the foreign supplier. That was the first option. All importation obligations will be performed by a consumer. What happens if you would be in charge? There are two options. Either the normal rules will apply, which entail that there has to be, first of all, there is a difference in the rules for consignments above and below 150 euro, or you would make use of the so-called import one-stop shop. And the import one-stop shop is in fact a new system which has been introduced from the 1st of July 2021, which is making your life easier. And I'm now more than pleased to hand over the word to Pauline, who will guide you through all these different rules by means of some examples. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Yeah, like Claire said, we made some examples to show you exactly what the obligations are using the different options that exist. So if we look at the first example, we have a UK company, X, that sells goods to B2C customers in various EU member states via its own web shop. So it's France, Italy, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands. In this case, the value of the consignment is exceeding 150 euros. The goods are shipped from the UK directly to the member states of consumption. It's the member state where your customer is located, and they are directly imported in that member state. In this situation, X cannot opt for the IOS because it's a consignment of exceeding 150 euros, so the normal rules will apply. In this example, X will be in charge of the import. So X will need to register in all the member states of consumptions, and there are potential requirements to register via the appointment of a fiscal representative, as the UK is a non-EU country. In this example, when the normal rules apply, there will be no import VAT exemption, which entails that VAT will be due on the import and will in principle have to be paid at customs office upon the import. But that VAT can then be deducted by X via its periodic local VAT return. As also Sylvia already briefly mentioned in her presentation, you also have some deferment licenses available in the EU, whereby you have the possibility to postpone the payment of the VAT to your local VAT return, thereby avoiding a pre-financing of that import VAT, because it can then immediately be deducted in that same VAT return. The subsequent distance sale to your customer will be subject to VAT in the member state of consumption. So in this example, if you ship the goods from the UK to France, French VAT will be due on that sale. If it goes to Germany, German VAT will be due on that sale, and so on. The declaration of that VAT will then be done via the local periodic VAT return in each of those member states of consumption, meaning that you will have to submit a French VAT return declaring the French VAT for your supplies to the French customers, a German VAT return in Germany, declaring the German VAT on the sales to your German customers, and so on. If we then move to the next example, so there we have again the company X that sells goods to the B2C customers in various EU member states. So actually the same setup. However, here you have a consignment less than 150 euros. Although here in principle X can opt to apply for the IOS, he has chosen not to opt. So here also the normal rules will apply. So in this case, actually the same obligations will arise as when the goods are above 150 euros. So here you will also have those various registration obligation in the member states of consumption. You will have to pay the import VAT due, and you have to report the VAT on your subsequent distance sales. In this case, it's also good to note that different rules will apply in case the goods are imported in another member state than the member state of consumption. Maybe just also to touch up on the situation where your customer does the import. In that case, none of these obligations will arise, and it will be your customer that will pay the VAT due on the import. If we then move to the next example, there we have a UK company X again, selling goods to B2C customers in various EU member states via its own web shop. So actually the same setup is in the previous examples. However, here the consignments are also maximum euro 150, and he has opted for the IOS. So in that case, X has the opportunity to register for IOS via an intermediary, as he is a non-EU company, in the member state of establishment of the intermediary. For instance, if you choose an intermediary in Belgium, you will be registered for the IOS here in Belgium. In the case IOS is applied, there will be an import VAT exemption in the respective member states. So you will not have to pay any import VAT as long as you communicate your IOS number to the local customs authorities. Your subsequent distance sale will then be subject to the VAT in the member state of consumption. So here you will again have to apply French VAT on the supplies to French customers, German VAT on your supplies to German customers, and so on. The VAT amount that you will also ask from your customer to be paid, it has to be shown at the latest when the ordering process is finalized. And it will be the local VAT rates of those countries that will apply. The good thing about the IOS is, although you have supplies to multiple EU member states and you have different VAT rates in those member states, you will only be obliged to submit one single monthly IOS return. This means that all those sales, you can report it in only one IOS return, and you will pay one VAT amount, and then it will be distributed by the country in which you are registered to those respective member states. That's a quite significant simplification compared to the normal rules, where you have to submit a VAT return in each of these member states to which you supply goods. Then we have a specific example. It's the example where a UK company X sells goods to B2C customers in Northern Ireland via its own web shop. So there we took the assumption that X is registered for VAT in the UK, and the value of the consignments can be above or below £135. The goods are shipped directly from the UK to your client in the Northern Ireland. In this case, the supply to the customer in Northern Ireland will be subject to UK VAT, and company X will need to declare that UK VAT via its UK periodic VAT return. There will be no import VAT due in Northern Ireland. Note that in case X is not registered for VAT in the UK, because he did not reach the VAT registration threshold of £85,000. So the turnover is less than £85,000. You're not obliged to register. You have the option, but you're not obliged. Then you don't have to apply UK VAT on your supply. So now that we have covered some of the examples, I'm happy to give the floor back to Claire, who will briefly touch upon what we offer in terms of the IOS.
Okay, thank you, Pauline. So indeed, I hope it is clear that thanks to the introduction of IOSS as from the 1st of July of last year, it has become easier to trade within the European Union when selling goods in a B2C relationship. Because as explained by Pauline, in the past, whenever you were shipping goods from the UK to, well, not from the UK, from another, a non-EU member state, because, yeah, of course, there was before the Brexit, you didn't have the issue. But as from the 1st of July, it made your life easier, because in the past, whenever you were selling goods to consumers located in different EU member states, you were required to register for VAT purposes in every single EU member state. As from the 1st of July, you are no longer required to register for VAT purposes in every single EU member state. You can opt to register in one single member state, and you can pay over the VAT, which is due on all your sales through one single EU VAT return to be filed, which makes your life easier. However, you can only opt to apply the scheme to the extent that your consignment, so the value of your consignment, is below 150 euro. And if so, you can opt to apply the IOS scheme. And together with UPS, we have developed a service offering whereby we would, of course, be pleased to assist you with such a European IOS registration, the submission of all your IOS VAT returns, which are in fact monthly VAT returns, communication on your VAT payments, communication with the VAT authorities, if any, and updates on any relevant changes. And there we have developed a price grid, which is in fact tied to the number of parcels you're sending on a yearly basis. Find the prices over there. However, we have agreed with UPS that specific prices are applicable in that respect. And in that respect, we are giving you a further discount of 15% on these general prices. And that was, in fact, the end of our intervention. So I don't know, Maria.
Yes, I love it. You know, I was thinking, Claire and Pauline, as I was listening to you. So looking at it from the other side of the pond, where I am right now. But I love the explanation that you have done about the iOS, right? And because there's so many questions that were left. How do we do it now, and what are the process? Yeah. So I love how you have broken it down from different perspectives. And I'm going to bring Sylvia here with us to have the conversation. So we did have some questions that came through the chat, very specific case scenarios from Don, but we had received some other questions in advance before, also from that they were looking on this area. And one question I thought was very interesting was, is it easier or harder, so that the after Brexit, but is it possible to keep doing it, exporting from the UK to the EU? And I know that sounds very philosophical in a way, right? And not getting political or anything, just the gist of exporting, right? And so I would love to hear your thoughts from all of you on that part. Is it easier or harder? Once you have the information, can we keep doing it? And what will be the best advice that you can give to small businesses, right, that don't have an arm of custom brokers ready to do so? I don't know, Claire, if you want to go first, and then we'll go Pauline and Sylvia and see what you guys think.
Okay. Yeah, for sure, it is possible. And it is maybe a little bit more difficult because, of course, suddenly you're confronted with import and export formalities. But yes, it is still possible. And since the 1st of July last year, it has become easier to do it, certainly from a VAT perspective. But I'm more than happy to give the word to Pauline in that respect, that she can conclude again on the benefits of the IOSS scheme.
No, like Claire said, I think it's indeed possible. And I think with the tool of the iOS, it becomes very easy, let's say, to do it. The iOS is something that it gives you an easy way to manage your shipments from a VAT perspective towards the EU, because it combines everything in one single declaration. And that's something that's so easy, because your imports are going faster because there's less customs and there's less to do. And on top of that, you have only one declaration in which you can declare all your VAT. So you have a very good overview of all your shipments
Of everything,
to the
yes.
EU, because it's combined in only one return. Otherwise, before, it was very stretched over the EU, where you had to keep track of every shipment to every country. Now it's just combined in one, and I think it will make it way easier to do the imports.
That's awesome. Thank you, Pauline. Silvia, how about you, from your perspective? You're on mute. Famous Zoom words. No.
Sorry. I don't think the world was ready for Brexit, basically. It's a big shake-up. It's not what we were doing before. For people who are importing and exporting already to US, they had a more seemingly easier transition, because basically whatever you did for the rest of the world, you now do for Europe. But as the months have gone on, and we've got slicker in the processes, the customs around Europe are more prepared, shall we say, and it has become much easier. You just need to remember, you know, as I touched on earlier on, the invoices that you produce, you've got to, customers will very rarely see the package, they will see the data. So you've got to be precise in the data. I mean, don't get me wrong, if they want to look at the package, then they will, but they're more interested in the data. That's what gives them the information.
As a former employee of a customs authority, I appreciate you making that clarification. But yes, no, data is very important, right? Because that is what gives us the risk assessment, and authorities are doing the assessment and the analysis in advance, so they can better know that information. I think the next question that we have, and it's a little bit to Don's comment in here, because today's world, 2022, right? We have a very complex supply chain business environment, right? Where we have businesses that are bringing raw materials from Asia and produce the products in the UK that were here, and then they're exporting to EU, to the US or other parts. How, in that respect, not going into deep dive, we're going to help Dawn more in depth, right, in terms of her question, but how the small businesses should take into consideration all those complexities as they're pulling together their goods. What will be the one wisdom, I know, one nugget of advice, simplify, that you will give those customers to keep track of and to know how to best export a product that came from different ways? Claire, you go first. I know I'm giving you the tough questions, right, to all of you.
Yeah, and I think I really need to disappoint you a little bit here, Maria, because this is not, because here we're talking about origin.
Yes.
And I always try to explain what is origin. Well, origin is something like a nationality. My nationality is Belgium. When I go to the UK and from the UK, I go to the US, and then I go back and I go to Germany, my nationality is
Still
Belgian. And when I'm in the US, it is Belgian. And when I am in Germany, it is still Belgian. And it is the same for products. If a product is produced in the UK, it has a UK origin. And if you ship it from the UK to the United States, from the United States to China, and from China back to Europe, it is UK origin, and it can benefit from the EU-UK trade agreement. But this is the very easy example where goods have been wholly obtained or wholly produced in one country. And this is not the actual supply chain we have on a daily basis, because how is the supply chain currently, how does the supply chain currently looks like? It is, I'm obtaining some goods from country X, I'm obtaining some products from country Y, I transfer everything to another country, there everything will be processed. From that country, I transferred it to another country. But yeah, then it becomes complicated, because what is then the origin? Yeah. And I've seen the email so from Dawn here, and yeah, you will get back to him in more detail. But there the question is, the most important thing to retain is, if you have substantial transformation within the UK, there are chances that you can claim UK origin. And one of the major rules in that respect is, as soon as your commodity code will change, so if your final product has a different commodity code than the goods which you use to produce the final goods, then there is a possibility. I'm not saying that it will always be the case, but then there is a possibility to potentially claim UK or EU origin.
Yeah. I love that. And it is fascinating, right? That the realities of that. I can tell you, for example, here in the US, Canada, and Mexico agreement, USMCA, it was percentages, for example, for automotive parts, like 65% should be produced in the region. And we have several agreements that have that part, right? That percentage. I don't know, Pauline or Sylvia, if you want to add anything else to what Claire mentioned, or move to the last question.
I would just add that, you know, to simplify things. So if, for instance, I'm making a dress, my fabric has come from China, my zips have come from Yugoslavia, my buttons have come from Germany. I'm making a dress, it becomes British.
Wow. I know that is that, yeah. And because you made it, you used you did everything in the UK.
You're manufacturing and you're changing, as Claire rightly said, you're changing the tariff. So the buttons have come together, the zips have come together, and we've put everything, the fabric, all imported under different tariffs, making a product and going out to something else.
Yeah, very interesting. This is a great discussion for the participants to really ask the questions, right? And this is why it's so important. Know your product. Where are your parts coming from? Keep track of everything, because this is, once you have the right partner working with you, then you're able to find that information. Okay, last question. This is from me, so I didn't give you a heads up about this question. And it is, I always ask this question, and it is, what are the words of wisdom that you will give to entrepreneurs today in 2022 when they're thinking about exporting? And so what will be the number one thing that you want them to remember from this hour conversation that we have had? And I'm going to ask Pauline to go first.
I would say know your options. I think it starts with knowing your options, what is there for you to make it easier. And I think it starts with that.
Thank you, Pauline. I love it. Know your options. My dear Claire, you're next.
I think it would be, don't be afraid, just jump. It will work out.
I love that. Know your options. Don't be afraid. Sylvia, what is your advice?
Look at the costs, all the costs. Will it influence my sale price?
Oh, I love that. Yes, because and we have a training that we do that is so true, right? That you get so excited about a sale, and then you don't look at all the costs from beginning to end, and then the challenge comes. I love it. So know your options. Don't be afraid. and look at the cost. Do your homework, right, on that part. Ladies, it has been such a pleasure to have you all here with us. Really, thank you for your advice, for your words of wisdom. And I love it, right? We are empowering our women entrepreneurs to export. Don't be afraid, you can do it. And there's a community around you here to support you.
Absolutely.
So I wish you, all of you, a big hug, and may the force be with you, what I told you at the beginning, to all of you. And thank you to all the women that have participated in our training. I do want to give special thanks to Astrid and Sarah, who made this possible in the past 4 weeks, 5 weeks that we've been together. So with that, thank you and have a wonderful rest of the week. Claire,
Thank you.
Pauline, Sylvia, thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.